What's going on, YouTube? Great to be back with you today on February the 9th. Hope you guys are all doing super well. Hope you guys had a great Monday. So today on the News Flash, I want to talk about the big news that's happened in the last 24 hours. The MLB and the Players Association have agreed on the health and safety protocols and kind of on-field alterations and how baseball is going to look for the 2021 season. This is great news because this was the biggest thing that happened last season that prevented the season from starting earlier, and something that really hurt the MLB last season overall, going to the 60-game season that was 2021 or 2020. For 2021, we will see a full 162-game season. We will see regular playoffs, 10-team playoffs, no expanded playoffs like last season. We will also see no universal DH like there was in 2020. This is huge for baseball in general because at the end of the 2021 season, the collective bargaining agreement, or CBA, as you'll most often hear it referred to, is expired. So both sides will be entering into negotiations, MLBPA and the owners, on what the next collective bargaining agreement is going to look like. These are going to be two of the huge standing points: expanded playoffs and universal DH. So pitchers will hit in the NL for at least one more season. So we'll see kind of how that goes. Some of the on-field alterations that we'll see: the 7-inning doubleheaders will remain intact. The runner on second base to begin extra innings will also remain intact. Something that's a little bit different this season: any player is permitted to work as a pitcher at any given time. The previous rule didn't allow for a position player to pitch until a particular inning or a 6-run deficit. This is really interesting. As we saw last season, a lot of teams went with larger bullpens, different rotation, 5, 6, 7-man rotations, just to allow everyone proper days off. However, in a 162-game season, coming off a 60-game season, we're sure there's going to be a little bit of a curve going into the early part of the season, where pitchers are getting reacclimated to pitching more innings and having to get their bodies through a full 162-game season. Rosters will go back to the normal 26 size. Last season we saw 28-man rosters throughout the season, and then those expanded to 30-man rosters come September. However, they will revert back to 26-man rosters and then 28 come the playoffs, or come September. Teams will also travel with their 5-man taxi squad, much like last season. However, the 5-man taxi squad, they are permitted to work out with the big league club. They travel with the big league club. However, they don't dress for the game. They are only there just in case of a positive test or something and they need to fill the roster. There will also be an enforcement for masks, except for players on the field during the game and during pregame warm-ups. However, in the dugout, clubhouse, there will be mask enforcement. Another interesting thing that I saw was, I totally blanked on what I was going to say. So there's going to be strict enforcement of the mask policy. That's pretty much the biggest thing. And now for the health and safety protocols. There's going to be a strict enforcement for unsportsmanlike conduct violations that break physical distancing guidelines. As in, players' coaches going out of their way to go and argue with an umpire. Or in the case of a bench clearing brawl, there will be strict enforcement on those rules, and there will also be fines, discipline, things like that coming from the league office. If a team does have a COVID outbreak, the team will be able to add players to its MLB roster and return them to the minor leagues without burdening their options or placing them on waivers. This is really important. Minor league options are incredibly valuable to teams, especially right now. They don't want to be shuffling players, having to burn those options, having to keep them on the roster, and then lose them to waivers. That's kind of what we saw a lot last year. Teams just waivers just flying all the time. These players will be able to remain with their clubs, go back down to AAA, AA, wherever they came from. There will also be a COVID-19 Health and Safety Committee composed of one MLB and one MLBPA representative and 2 physicians. So again, there's going to be people in place to manage these COVID-19 disciplinary actions. Each club must also appoint an infection control prevention coordinator and compliance officer. Both of these positions must be at least an assistant general manager or another senior executive in the organization. Among other changes, if an outbreak happens in a team, those in contact with the positive player, Kinnixian devices will be worn at all times for player contact tracing to see who was around who for a certain amount of time, much like the NFL and the NBA have done going into this season. They will quarantine for 7 days, and they have to test negative on the 5th day to be able to end that quarantine and come out of it on the 7th day. So those are the biggest news from the agreement. You can read the full agreement on MLB.com, their full press release. There's a lot of different details in there. There's a lot more to get into, but these are the main focuses and what you need to know. Spring training, pitchers and catchers will still report on the 17th. Again, we will still have a full 162-game season, barring any setbacks. But however, the Players Union is very set on committing 162-game season. We're playing. Everyone else is playing. We're playing. So yeah, get excited for baseball. Baseball season starts in 9 days.